Are we doing this?
We're doing this.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's Brie the Frog.
It's the Dragonfly, Mandi.
And welcome to the Dragonfly and the Frog podcast.
It's been a while, Lily Pads.
It has been a while. Holy moly.
But this one's a good one. It's definitely a goodie. And we're going to start it with a tarot card draw. And I'm going to go ahead and just draw it. But I'm not good with tarot readings, so Brie will read it.
All right, so what is your question?
Oh, I already pulled it.
God, okay, and I love that this is... So
why do I always get wands?
That's an interesting card for you to pull, and I actually think it's going to go hand in hand with what we're going to talk about today.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so the collective seems to be going through the Five of Wands, which depicts 5 guys I can count, I swear. Each guy has a stick, and they're basically beating each other with the sticks. So we're all fighting something, whether it's each other or ourselves. And that seems to be a recurring theme this year, especially this month and especially after this election. There is a fight still had to be fought. Sometimes it can tell you that you need to put your sticks down and listen. But there's definitely some kind of battle happening.
Well, I definitely agree that I think we both have been separately and just collectively, like, at work and everything, going through different battles.
Definitely. I know for me, the thing that I've been battling is myself and my challenging ego. It's been a little bit hard to find ways to challenge that ego when you get stuck in like a negative thought pattern and then you have to talk yourself out of it. So I've definitely overcome some of those battles quite a bit recently. So for me, that's definitely been my number one battle, is just challenging myself.
I think my number one thing has been I've been needing to... There's been too much stuff going on, like too many like outside voices, outside opinions, just a lot of different outside factors lately. And for me, I feel very sensitive to noise and to things. So lately I've just been very quiet. I've been very silent because I've been just needing to personally go very inward, because if I didn't kind of like step away from everything, then it was all going to be too much, and I was noticing old patterns again, and I was getting frustrated that those patterns were coming back. And yeah, so like I had to really just kind of dive deeper into myself and kind of go to some solitude. Not because of like hate or anger towards anyone, just to honestly protect myself. And yeah, that's kind of all I had to really do, and still am kind of doing, but I think it's getting better. Yeah, it's just, there is just too much stuff going on personally, in my personal life, in work, and then with the elections and everything. I don't know, holidays are around the corner too, and like that's starting to stress me out family-wise, so there's just been a lot of too much stuff.
It's like the outside world versus like the inside world.
Well, yeah,
and like trying to understand how they relate.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's just been like oil and water.
Mm-hmm. On the other hand, though, I feel like I've made the most breakthroughs I've ever made, though, kind of going silent. So I'm really happy. I've worked through a lot of things. So like, I don't know, I couldn't be happier. It doesn't like that sounds probably really mean, but like for once, me being selfish really was so nice. Like, but yeah. But today's podcast, we wanted to kind of talk about, a kind of a big topic, like your narrative. What is your story? Who are you? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Like what, if someone was writing my story, which is ultimately myself, I'm technically writing the story. You know, there is outside forces and stuff, obviously. You know, I think that's totally a thing. Someone has a hand in what's going on. But ultimately, you know, I myself am writing my story. I'm, you know, the main lead in my story sometimes.
It's one of those choose your own adventure books.
Yeah, but
that's the way life is. Choose your own adventure. These are your options.
Yeah.
Choose wisely.
Yeah. And we just kind of want to talk about that kind of like topic this week, honestly, with all these different conflicts and everything going on.
So what's your narrative?
My narrative, you know, I kind of went to the beach alone and I got really emotional because I was getting kind of like upset at myself because I was asking myself these questions. I was like, who am I? And like the first and only answer that really came to me was, well, I'm just Mandi. Like, you know? And then I asked myself another scary question, which was, what do I want? And I was like, I don't know.
Dude,
like,
that's been a scary question that's been floating around in my head a lot recently. What do I want?
Yeah. And I'm like asking myself these questions while I'm looking at the ocean. And the ocean's just, you know, doing the same movement constantly. But like as I like kept looking at the ocean though, I'm like, you know what? The ocean is like, the ocean doesn't get tired of what it's doing. I think that's astounding. And I started to just keep looking and it's like, it's not ever doing the same wave, but it always does the same motion. And yet it's always different every second, every like time of the day. Like it never gets tired. It just does what it has to do because it's the ocean. And I don't question it because it's the ocean. And then that made me think, I know this sounds really crazy. Like this is how my circular logic goes. Like, so then I was like, the ocean isn't ever angry at itself. It's the ocean. It's doing what the ocean does. And we ourselves don't ever question it because it's the ocean. That's what the ocean does. So like when I asked myself, who am I and what do I want? All I could think of was, well, I'm just Mandi. Like I want whatever like Mandi wants, you know? It's as simple as that. Like, I'm on the journey to finding out my wants, and I'm on the journey to finding out who I am, because I'm finally starting to be me. I'm finally starting to be Mandi, and I'm asking myself these questions. And then I was like, whoa, I guess I can't really be mad for not having answers to these, because this is the first time I've ever really trying to, like, ask myself, you know, these things. It was crazy. That's one of the things that I asked myself. Yeah, those are scary topics to talk about. But I think they're honestly the best topics to talk about.
They are. Those are some major questions. I know, like, Mandi's spent a lot of time alone. I've been spending a lot of time alone. I mean, I guess, like, I've spent a lot of time alone with my thoughts. And then I've had human interactions in between that have caused me to ponder the same question, which is like, who am I and what do I want? And it's really weird because Mandi and I have not been, like, we have not talked really because our schedules have been so polar opposite lately, that we haven't had a chance to, like, relay this to each other up until like today.
We haven't even told each other that, oh yeah, these are questions I've been asking myself, like, you know, because we've just been kind of going through different like motions. We're just trying to survive there. Like, yeah, like point blank, we're trying to survive right now. Yeah. And trying to make as least amount of contact with people, with emotions and things that we know are triggering us, because news flashes, now we actually know what triggers us. So, like, that's half the battle now is when... It's like I always say, like, now that my eyes are open, now that your eyes are open, you can't ever close them kind of thing, you know? Like, it's easier when they're closed, because then you don't even realize that you're being triggered and you just go about your life. But, like, now that we have identified what triggers us on an individual basis, like, we're able to take that step back and be like, okay, like, someone pulled my trigger. Now, how do I recenter myself? Yeah, because, like, you gotta ask yourself, okay, what did they say? You have to, like, I hate it because you have to, like, kind of almost relive the thing and relive the moment, because that's the only way you're gonna figure out what really triggered me. You know, was it the person? Was it what they said? Was it the environment? Like, what was it? And then you have to go from there, you know, questioning like, all right, well, if this happens again, what are you going to do to not have this trigger you? And then, like, even me just trying to explain this sounds already exhausting. Like, but it's what you have to do. These are the steps that you have to do in order for, like, patterns and things not to, like, happen again, or for you not to kind of go back to your old ways.
Yeah. I had sent something to Mandi and now I don't have it, which is a quote that was talking about, like, basically your anger is like you stepping out of what brings you back to center. So in order for you to overcome your your trigger of anger or whatever, you have to walk away from that trigger or that emotion and allow it to pass so that you can come back to your center. And find, like, your true, like, center of peace and happiness. And to me, that was, like, a really big deal because, like, I do get triggered and, like, I have in the past harbored a lot of hurt and anger. And that's something that I've learned and I'm learning still, like, to work through. And it's something that I'm aware of on a daily basis. And so, like, for me, when I do get triggered, I just have to, like, take myself back to my center. So that was, like, a really big deal to me.
Figuring out where your center is, like, what grounds you and stuff.
Right. And then, you know, is this in my highest and best? Is this going to, like, am I reacting? And is my reaction going to, like, make the situation better or worse? And so I'm starting to really learn how to just let it go. Or if I have to, like, sit with it and then let it go, but like, do not respond.
I also gotta think too, like, is it, like, when you were talking about, like, is it in my best interest, like, to, like, put it or not, like, what is your, like, present interest too, you know, like, so you don't go back to, like, okay, well, this is how I used to do it, you know, like,
right,
kind of thing.
Well, and something else that, like, kind of crossed my mind throughout, like, the last week was I struggle a lot with anxiety, and the thing or the conclusion that I came to was I do not have to worry about my future self, which is where the anxiety comes from, right?
Amen.
You're anxious because you're worried about the future. I don't have to worry about my future self because my present self is taking care of her right now. And when I, like, told myself that, I, like, came up with that on my own. I was, like, sitting here, like, in an anxious thought, and then that thought popped into my mind, and I was like, oh, yeah, like, nothing's gonna happen to that girl in the future because I'm taking care of her right now.
That is amazing that you came to that, like, especially in, like, an anxious, like, state, you know? That's awesome. That was, like, your inner voice, like, coming, like, out to you.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that was pretty...
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
That's huge.
And that's, like, ever since I've had that, like, aha moment, I've been able to control my anxiety, like, so much better.
Do you feel lighter, too?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and it's like, I just know, I'm like, okay, like, you don't need to worry about that because, like, you're handling it right now.
Yeah.
Even if I'm handling it by sitting on the couch watching TV, which is, like, super rare for me to do. But it's like, I've been doing it a lot lately because there's not a lot of daylight. It's cold out. And, you know, like, the pandemic is starting to get bad again. So where are we going to go?
Yeah. It's funny how you were starting to get anxious, you know, and about your future self. Because I feel like I've actually been doing the opposite. So I've been lately meditating, which I'm so proud of myself for finally, like, I don't want to, like, jinx it or anything. And me saying that now just jinxed it. But,
no, it did not.
But I finally feel like lately I've been getting a really good constant routine. Like, I haven't been in a constant routine with my yoga practice, but I have with my meditation. And through my meditating, I have been, since I've been focusing on my present self, I lately, through my meditations, have been going back to my past self and have been thanking and giving gratifications to that Mandi for this current present Mandi. And I feel like in return, I'm helping that future Mandi.
And I think it's interesting that you say that, because I feel like having that thought in your meditation of going back and giving gratitude to your past self. I was talking myself through an anxious situation, and I was like, dude, you have always taken care of yourself. Like, you've always gotten through, like, those tough times, like, those really, like, dark scenarios that you've lived through. Like, you've always carried yourself through that, and you're in a safe space now, and you got yourself there. And I was like, why did you, like, what got you there? And I was like, it was your past self. And then which was your present self back then.
Yeah.
And that was how I kind of connected those dots. So it's interesting that you connected them that way. Just opposite.
I'd say that's
like,
why I was
like you worked backwards.
I worked backwards. You were going forwards. Yes. Isn't that funny how that works?
I'm like, okay.
But yeah, I've been going through, a lot of things that I was thanking myself for, because I was trying to find, for me, the thought process was I was finding a lot of difficulties, like I was saying before, like with these outside forces and everything. I was figuring out what is triggering me, and I was telling myself, I don't think I'm finding gratitude right now, really, for my present self with where I am. And so this is where tension is coming from. And this is where I'm once again going back to old patterns, listening to outside forces versus myself. And that's why I was getting angry, because I was like, no, I know I need to not be listening to them. Like, I love them to death, but I need to be listening to myself. And that's when I was like, okay, hustle down. We need to meditate. Like, people find they ground themselves in this. And I was like, okay, well, at first it was really weird for me. I don't think I meditate how most people do. It doesn't go blank for me. It doesn't. I don't go empty or anything. I start with phrases and everything. And for me, I then get like brought into like more of a, like, for me, I can literally see vividly these like past memories and everything. And I'm there with my past self is there, and then my present self is there, and that's where I found my gratitude, because I end up like going to my past self and like telling her, thank you for all you've done. You have brought me to where I am now, and for that we are strong. For that I thank you. Like, I am proud of you. Like, it gets better. And that's the thing I always tell myself, like my past self, is it gets better, and we get to a pretty freaking awesome place. And then I come out of it and I like am bawling my eyes out. Like, so
sounds about right.
But I can't help but feel lighter. And now when like I think about to those like past things that I don't think I could have ever unboxed or ever look at ever again, I don't see them through a negative phase anymore, like a different filter. They are lighter now. So that makes me feel really good, honestly.
That's super important,
Yeah. Yeah, I was, like, talking to my mentor, and I, like, told her, I was, like, because we were holding each other accountable on our meditations, and, like, it's crazy all the breakthroughs I keep having with my meditation, and I'm really happy, kind of scared, because we're going to get into some deeper stuff, I feel like, and I say we, I mean myself, like, because I feel like the things I've been working through are the easy ones. It's the harder ones, that are gonna get to me. But
I think the darker ones, because I feel like I've been facing a lot of my darker ones.
Yeah.
And it's been something that I have been running from for a couple of years, if not a few. And I keep telling myself, like, yes, this hurts and it's uncomfortable. And so the mantra that I've been working through is get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Amen.
And so I tell myself that in moments where I'm working through those feelings and feeling extremely uncomfortable. And I really think that, like, me going to the gym, like, has really, I think, toughened up my mental state a little bit too, because there's times where I'll be in the gym lifting something really heavy or feeling like I'm ready to give up, or I just want to go home, or I don't want to be there. And I tell myself, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's kind of been what I've been holding on to get through a lot of that. But the other thing that I've been telling myself in those moments is, once you finish working through this, like, you will be healed. Like, you will not be that wounded person anymore, and you will, you'll be lighter, and you'll be able to move forward, and it'll be life-changing, and, like, you just have to sit through it. And just get comfortable with comfortable. Being uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, when I think back to, like, my first meditation, I was uncomfortable. I'm just sitting there, like, and I'm just thinking, why is there so many thoughts going through my head? It's not silent, and, like, because, like, that's the first thing, and so then I started just talking to myself. I started just, you know, like, asking myself questions, and that's how things, like, kind of came out, because I think it almost, in a sense, was, like, my inner voice is like, oh, you're talking to me. Okay. Like, you know, like, oh, you have something to say to me? Like, and that sounds crazy, me even saying, like, me talking to my inner voice. But honestly, I think now I am a firm believer on you need to have a way better narrative and dialogue with yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you do.
It may sound crazy, but I don't feel crazy. Like, I've been feeling so, like, comfortable with myself, because lately I've been, like, talking through things to myself, you know, and also at night lately before I go to bed, I've been telling myself, like, you've done a great job today, you did your best today, and I feel like I've been, like, sleeping better than I have ever done, you know, like, before. Like, I think it just goes back to, you know, what is, besides first talking about, like, what is your narrative, what is the story you want for your future and everything, what's the narrative you're telling your own self right now?
I think
that's a huge piece of the puzzle a lot of people are missing every day.
It is. It's, like, your perspective and your mental state, because it's like, I forget what it was, but it's like, I feel like it's been every day. I'm like, okay, are we going to perceive this in a positive way, or are we going to perceive this in a negative way?
It's
like,
all up to you.
Two choices.
Yeah.
Like, you can take this and let this affect you in a negative way, or you can take this and, like, let it affect you positive.
That's life. Yeah, life is choice.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, you can say different factors got onto you, and yes, they did, totally. But also at the end of the day, you had a certain choice, you know, you could have done. I think that's the thing that kind of sucks sometimes, is we start holding so much regret on those choices. We hold so much power, like, on some of them, you know, that we can't let them go. Yeah. And we hold this regret, we hold this hesitation, like, oh, I should have done this, you know, like, at the end of the day, you have to think, you know, you did that at a moment, you know, and you did it for a reason in that moment, and you did it. So what are you going to do next? What can you do better? I think those are the questions you should be asking yourself.
Right.
Not the what if questions. What if I did that other choice? What if I'm sorry, you can't go back. You already did the choice, but you can go forward. You can do a new step. You can learn. You can grow. You can
learn the lesson. Yeah.
You can do that. You can totally do that. But honestly, what you can't really do is expect to get anywhere if you're standing still. I feel like that's a circular thing we keep talking about, like, on our podcast.
If you're constantly reliving the past, trying to alter the past, you're also standing still. And it's like, you're never going to be able to alter the past from the present. Mm-hmm. Like, the past happened, you have to either cut your losses, learn the lesson, you know, or whatever. And so I think that's kind of, I guess, where I'm trying to go, is figure out, like, okay, like, learn the lesson and keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward, my favorite quote. And from our time, us not being together, our lily pads, I now have it tattooed on me. Like, keep moving forward. So now it's everywhere with me. I'm so happy. This has been actually a tattoo I've been wanting for, like, 2 years. Probably longer, but I can vaguely remember 2 years. So I am so happy for it. And yeah, in my hard times, I just look down. It's really nice to be able to, like, look down and see it every day. Yeah. Instead of not just seeing it in my journal entry. Because I always see it in my journal entry, because I always write it in my journal entry. But some quotes I kind of wanted to talk about, just to kind of get your guys' brains kind of moving, are from Don Miguel's The Voice of Knowledge. They're the author who also does the Four Agreements. If any of you guys have read the Four Agreements, I love that book so much. I highly recommend it for anyone who has not read it. It is amazing. This is one of his other books, The Voice of Knowledge. And it kind of goes... This is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about, you know, like, your narrative and everything. So I'll just be quoting what he's talking about. In this one chapter, we were talking about how us humans shouldn't really be considered humans. It's kind of a better word or label to call us artists. And he said, if we understand this point of view, we can see how wonderful it is to call ourselves artists instead of humans. When we think of ourselves as humans, we limit the way we express ourselves in life. We hear, I'm just a human, I'm not perfect. But if we call ourselves artists, where is that limitation? As artists, we no longer have any limitations. We are creators, just like the one who created us. But there are two kinds of artists. The one who create their story without awareness, and the ones who recover awareness and create their story with truth and with love. You are dreaming your life in this moment. You react and try to make sense of what you perceive. This is something wonderful. You live in the story that you create, and I live in the story that I create. Your story is your reality, a virtual reality that is only true for you, the one who creates it. Every head is a world, and it's true. You live in your own world, and that world is so private. Nobody knows what you have in your world. Only you know, and sometimes even you don't know. Your world is your creation, and it's a masterpiece of art. Ugh. When I read that, yeah, I literally put a comment, this is so true and well spoken. Like, I couldn't think of what to comment. I was just in awe. Like, whoa, yeah. Like, I do create my own world. Like, in a sense, yeah.
That goes back to the whole concept of, like, you create your reality, or what you think about, you bring about.
Yeah.
So, like, being very mindful of what you're thinking about or what your inner, like, dialogue or inner self-talk is, because, like, you can't let other people's, like, negative words against you, like, let that be, like, you cannot let that be your reality. Like, that's not your reality.
Letting someone else tell you who, like, they say you are, that can't be your reality. You know? Because I think that's the thing that we get really frustrated on is, you know, someone comments or something and you're like, wait, well, that's not me. You know, that's their perspective. That's their reality on you. And so, like, that's when you have to really talk to your, like, inner voice. You're like, yeah, that isn't me. This is who I am, you know?
Right. You have to really ask yourself, like, does that person really know you?
Yeah.
Like, that's like that's the important one, because it's like, okay, like, they might see you, you know, like, in passing, you know, during whatever. And, you know, during some whatever daily activity, and then it's like, okay, but, like, you don't hang out with them. Like, they only see, like, that one part of you for, like, 5 minutes, and it's like, okay, well, that's not even, like, who I am at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like if someone hung out with you literally for a whole day, every second of the day, they still, in my opinion, I don't think they could still say they know, like, how your day was or how, you know, your day is different, because we all, like, I'm with myself, and, like, there's
having
an
your
inner
thoughts.
Yeah, my thoughts, and there's already a different conversation going than even, like, the conversation we're having, you know? Like, it's just different realities, it's different worlds, like,
it's
and
like Inception.
Oh gosh.
Oh.
But that's why communication's key, you know, to try to, like, if you can at least try to bridge the gap with some people, you know, try to, like, have your guys' perspective, then I think that can work. I definitely think
communication, but also I'm gonna layer this with one other thing, because the conversation you and I had earlier about like communication versus understanding.
Oh yeah. You know, there's like a receptive skill. I don't know if it's still a thing now, you know. Like,
I'm like, you know, because there you can listen and not understand.
Actually, understand or like hear, you know.
Yeah. In
one ear, out the other. Meh.
So that's also a thing. But yeah, so, you know, listening to understand. But yeah.
Actively listening.
Yeah.
You know, just like when you actively read, like anything like that, you know, we just put the word active in front of it. We're just talking about like really like full on communicating, not being on your phone while someone's telling you about their problems, about so and so. That's not actively listening. That's yes, yeah.
That's lip service is what my mom would call that.
Gosh. But you know, take it one step at a time. You know, I definitely believe in start with at least 10 or 15 minutes, you know. Put that energy into yourself. Have a conversation with yourself. If you can't journal, which I highly recommend journaling, I feel like that's an amazing first step. Like, I feel like you can just go full force, like, full force.
Full force. I understand your language, man.
Once you go, like, full force, you know, like, it's just for you. So that's why I feel like journaling is kind of nice, because you can start having conversation with yourself and no one else is going to read it. You know, it's your journal. Like, it's all,
dude,
you know.
Yeah. Or the other thing is, like, I mean, we all have phones. Like, you can record. Yeah. I love listening to, I love the sound of my own voice. Not really. But, like recording stuff and then like listening to it later, only because I was like thinking about this the other day and I was like, I'm such a busy person and I have so many things that I like to do and it's so hard for me to like sit still.
Right, yeah.
I was like, I should like really get more books on audiobook. Like that was what I was thinking the other day, because I was like, dang, like I can quote unquote read all these books but also still like draw and write and like do all this other stuff, crochet or whatever, like all this like creative stuff that I need to be doing or have the desire to be doing, or physical stuff if I'm at the gym. I can multitask. I don't know. I've got big goals.
I give myself at least 10 or 15 minutes like a day to read. You know, I like that. For me, I like being grounded and sitting down and telling myself, for this amount of time, nothing can get in my way, you know. But also it's really hard sometimes to have that. But yeah. I make sure I have it, whether I have to stay up late, whether I have to like do it really early in the morning. Like I make sure I make that time. But you know, sometimes you don't have time to make that time. So yeah, if you can just...
It's not so much the time, it's I'm fidgety.
Oh yeah. But I do agree though, like even if no one's home, even if you have a conversation when you take a shower, where you're like wash your face, I don't know, I feel like have a conversation with yourself. Because you are with yourself 24 hours a day. Yeah. Like, if you don't have a good conversation with yourself, how is anything going to get better? Honestly. Like, you could get, like, everything could go your way. Probably. It totally could go all your way. And then all of a sudden, like, it could go down south because what are you having a conversation with yourself? Are you, like, getting all guilty because all this stuff happened for you, you know? Are you, like, listening to other people? You, like, so many factors can come in the way. If you're not true to you, if you're not, like, listening and, like, talking to you throughout it.
You have to ground yourself in your self-love.
Yeah.
Going back to that episode.
Yes.
Like, you really have to love yourself and know yourself in order to not be swayed by somebody else's perspective of you.
Because this is your story. This is, you know, you have all the control. I know sometimes it feels like we don't have control. But at the end of the day, there are certain factors you do have control over. And it can get better. Like, it will get better.
You just have to remind yourself. So, like, I've been, like, dealing with a very particular person in my life who has been unpleasant towards me a lot recently. And this is, like, somebody that's just, I can't just walk away from, unfortunately. In my life, it's someone who's, like, in my family. And this person has projected a bunch of things onto me that are like past versions of who I have been in the past. But they use that to be very hurtful towards me, and I have to ground myself every single day that I deal with this person and remind myself that is not who I am. That is their perspective of somebody who does not exist anymore. And all I can do, and let me tell you, because there are times where I get triggered and I want to be very reactionary. And I have to remind myself, like, this is not who you are. all you can do is stand in your truth and let time pass. And ultimately, my actions now will change their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard.
Yeah, no one said it was easy.
Whew, it is exhausting.
It's definitely a work in progress. There is no, this is the way, and this way will give you the success you want. Like, no.
You gotta work for it. You gotta be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. You gotta be okay with putting in extra effort, you know, when you feels like you don't have any energy or any extra effort to put, you know. I think those are the moments you really have to try to at least put something into yourself, or those like moments where it's like, well, I don't really have a lot to put into myself. No, those are the moments you have to put.
Yeah, you have to be selfish in that way, and you have to do it first. Because if you don't, like, you're just going to be a pushover. Like, you're not going to ever know your true identity. You're not ever going to have a true voice, and you're always going to be easily swayed one way or the other.
Yeah. But
you have to be grounded in your narrative.
Yeah. You know, it's a work in progress. Like, you don't necessarily... Some of us are lucky to know what their narrative is or what they're working towards. Like, you know, if you don't be yourself up for it. Don't feel discouraged by it. You're on your path. You're on your journey. It's about the journey, not the destination.
You'll eventually...
It will come.
Yeah, once you find your truth and know yourself and you ground yourself, your path will start to appear.
Because it's been there all along. That's the thing. Like, it's always been there. It's always been right in front of your, like, that's the funny thing is sometimes it, like, happens when you least expect it, which I know everyone hates that. Oh, it happens when you least expect it. Cool. So I'm just going to wait. Like, I'm going to wait just anxiously while I'm, like, waiting for this thing that's supposed to happen when I least expect it. But, of course, it's not going to happen because you're expecting it. So,
oh, my God.
I know it's the most frustrating thing ever, but, oh, my Lanta, is it so true? Like... Because the funny thing is, a lot of the times, it's been in front of you the whole time. Like, it's always been there. But the thing is, like, your eyes aren't open to it. You're not ready for it. There's a lot of different factors that could be. You haven't met the right person yet, you know? Like, you haven't gone through the right lesson yet. Like, there's a lot of reasons. It's not because you're not good enough. Don't ever let that challenging ego tell you it's because you're not good enough. No, it's because you haven't learned the lesson. You haven't grown. You're not grounded. Like, there's a lot of other factors, like... It will happen.
It's kind of like the Tower card in tarot. So the Tower card in the tarot is it's probably one of the most transformational cards. I don't want to give it like a negative connotation. I know it comes with a negative connotation, but the Tower is very symbolic of change. And when I can find it, I will describe it to you because it's broken in a couple different places. But the whole concept of the Tower is if you don't have the right foundation built, the whole tower is going to come down. And so it's a tower, a really tall tower being struck by lightning. The crown is falling off the king's head. People are falling out of the windows. There's like fire. The sky is black. And the whole, it's really about like building that foundation. And one of the tarot teachers that I follow, Lindsay Mack, she does tarot for the wild soul. And her whole thing is like, there's actually like different tiers to like when the tower card gets pulled. And so sometimes like the Tower card could be like you had a solid foundation, but you like maybe didn't follow the blueprints all the way through. And so you have to like do a little bit of remodeling. But sometimes it really is like you never laid that foundation and the tower is now going to come crumbling all the way down. And so I kind of feel like I'm living through a tower kind of moment right now in my life. And so that's been another metaphor that I've been kind of like mulling over as I'm like working through like what I'm going through, is just obviously I didn't lay the best foundation. And so my focus now is myself and like laying that foundation so that I will be unshakable going forward.
Yeah, because you have to, that's a sucky thing. Like, you got to put in the work. You got to take it one brick at a time. Like, one brick, one moment, one step.
One step, one punch, one round at a time.
I knew you were going to complete it. I was like, I feel like she knows where I'm going with this, right? Yes. Like,
one step, one punch, one round at a time. Just like Rocky says.
Yeah, that's life. You know? It won't go tumbling down, you know. I don't know. Rock bottom can be your foundation in moving forward. I definitely am a firm believer of that.
Yeah, you're pushing off the bottom. Like, build yourself a castle on that little rock.
Oh, yeah. And the thing, you have that choice. Like, you know?
But it's like, dude, like, once you hit rock bottom and you build...
There's nowhere but going up.
Yeah, that's a solid spot to be. Actually, like, that's a solid spot to start building. Like, so, yeah.
Yeah, there's nowhere but up. You can totally, yeah.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah, the sky is the limit. Put in the work. Change your dialogue.
Breathe, keep breathing. That's a big one. Keep breathing. Make sure you eat. I'm like, maybe I have a blood sugar problem. I'm like,
mine's been water. Water has been like, now that we're like going into winter, I've been drinking a lot more coffee, like, and yeah.
I've been a little bear. I've been eating a lot more food because I'm so ready to hibernate.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been eating a lot more bread than I used to lately, and I don't. Yeah, I'm like, oh gosh.
It's the season. Like, if you actually like eat intuitively and you eat what's in season, like, it's starches right now.
But take time. Try to make 10 or 15 minutes for yourself moving forward from today as you're listening to this. Mark it in your calendar. Put a notification on your phone. Do something. Read in those 15 minutes. Have a dialogue with yourself. Put a microphone, like, on and talk to yourself. If you can't talk to yourself, take 10 to 15 minutes, journal to yourself. Do something. Take that time. Whether it's really early in the morning, really late at night, right before you go to bed, whether it's in the shower, whether it's on your drive to work, make the time. Like, you will thank yourself. Believe me, you will thank myself. You
will be thanking Mandi. No, yes, you will, but you will thank yourself.
No, you'll be thanking yourself because you're going to start seeing the changes. Once you start asking yourself the questions, there's going to be movement, and movement's going to give you change, and change is good. Change is good.
Change is good, you guys.
Change is good.
Be an alchemist of change.
Oh, yeah. Keep moving forward. Take it one step at a time. Listen to yourself. With the holidays and everything coming, take care of yourselves.
Absolutely.
Listen to yourself. If you need to step away for a second from family or from, like, right now with COVID still and everything, like, take time for yourself. I think now more than anything we need that. Like,
yes.
Well, you guys got this.
Keep breathing. Keep moving forward. Be water, my friends.
Be water. Bye, lily pad.
Bye. We'll see you next time.
This is what it is, okay? I said empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.